Hey everybody, it's Mike. All right, so I'm not sure what my clickbaity title for this video is. I think it's going to be something along the lines of Beware the borderline who loves you. Beware when the borderline says, You are the person I'm looking for. You are my favorite person. You are the best person there is. Because what they unconsciously mean by that is I have chosen to put all of my pain onto you. I have chosen to punish you for all the pain that was done to me. Now, they don't do this consciously. So, borderlines, be clear. I'm not saying that you're consciously seeking people out to harm them. In fact, quite the opposite. I think you're consciously seeking people out because you want to love and be loved. For the codependents, it's going to feel that way though, and you're going to walk away. You have to understand this. You are going to walk away with the feeling that they planned it out on you. And then what's going to happen is you are going to be infected by this dynamic within them. So before I get into that, let me share with you first what happened with me. I remember this now, and I remember this. This is why I love comments on the channel. I remember this because I just read a comment, and I'll read it to you. But I can remember after my last discard, I was so hurt. I mean, it was so cruel. You've heard me talk about it. It was the cruelest thing anybody could have done. The cruelest, most devaluing discard anybody could have done to me. And I remember afterwards being in so much pain. I remember sitting in my empty house that I had rented for us, all by myself in a strange town in a strange country where nobody knew me because I moved down there at her insistent request to be with her. And then on Christmas Day being discarded in just a horrible way. I remember days, maybe a week, maybe even 2 weeks after that, being so angry with her and saying, I want to make her feel how I'm feeling now. And I remember thinking about it and meditating about it and praying. I remember consciously praying that karma would find her and that karma would force her to feel the pain that she caused me. And I had no mercy for her at that point. So those of you who are angry with your borderline exes and you hear the way I talk now, I wasn't like that. Right after my discard, probably for the first month, I wasn't like that. I wanted her to know the pain, and I wanted to watch. If I could, I would have wanted to watch her be forced to feel that pain so that I could feel vindicated. But what had happened is that I had been infected with her disorder. So those of you who are still angry and you still want to blame them in whatever way, that comes out, it's because you are still infected. And so I want, again, the whole purpose of this channel is to free you. freedom.spirittao.com, which should be up soon. I want to free you from all of the devaluation that you went through. And, thankfully enough, there's some borderlines that are being helped by this channel as well. I don't know anything about being a borderline or what they need to do to recover, but I want freedom for everybody. So what you need to understand is when the borderline targets you for themselves, and borderlines, maybe this is something you can think about. If they're attracted to you and they see you as the person, the new favorite person, it means on an unconscious level, you represent their parent, their mother, their father, whoever it was that abandoned or abused or whoever did the initial trauma to them. Means that you represent that to them. And so their first instinct is to regress back to the feelings that they had prior to their discard and abandonment or trauma, which is to love you with everything that they have. So that's what happens when you come into them and to their life and they become attracted to you. It's because you represent to them the parent that caused the initial damage. So their first reaction is to love you and see you as the perfect person. Now, you don't know that. Things go, as they go. You know how it's up or down with them. And once the projection or the transference or whatever psychological word it is that they are doing to you because they want to get mommy and daddy's love, once that starts to fall apart, then what ends up happening is that you still are the parent and they project all of the rage and the pain that they have stored up within them. And then they start to do things to you to make you feel what they feel, which I've come to realize is exactly how I felt. What I wanted was for my borderline ex, I wanted her to know the horrific, cruel, cold, calculating, horrific pain that she caused me. And in the way she did it, it was, she couldn't have done it better because she knew. She knew what my weaknesses were. She knew what my pain was. She knew what my history was. She knew the worst thing to do because I told her. Early on, I gave her all the information. And so what she did was unconsciously punish me in the worst way possible so that I could feel how she feels, because that was her unconscious way of punishing her mother or her father or whoever it was that did it to her. Now, she did not do any of this consciously. I am absolutely convinced she, to this day, most likely has no idea that that's what was going on. But that is what was going on. And now, it's and in a weird, twisted way, it's also a sign of love, because one of the things that we do when we love somebody is we want to share with them our deepest essence. So I got to live her deepest essence when I was so full of pain and anger and resentment that I wanted her to feel my pain. Now I know exactly what she carries with her all the time, unconsciously. And I know this because it makes sense, because of my own experience, but mostly because of what borderlines who have been in recovery say. And this was, I wish I could find the comment, but it was left by a borderline on this channel who said, we want to punish, and again, I'm using my words, but it was the same thing. We want to punish the original person who harmed us, and you just happen to be the one that's there, so we do it to you. But we really want to do it to them. We can't do it to them, so we do it to you instead. That's the sign of somebody who's been through a lot of therapy and a lot of awareness. And so, those of you who are still walking around with the pain, you want to blame them. You really, again, some of you are like 3/4 of the way there, and you agree with me until it comes to giving them slack because they have a mental illness. You don't want to go that far. You don't want to take the responsibility away, which I don't either. You want to just say, they're mean people. Anyway, so this came, what made me think of this was a comment here, which is different. It's not what I just said. It's slightly different. But it said, sorry, I can't. No, that wasn't it. Let me see if I can find it. Gosh, I wish I could find it because it was really good. Nope, I'm not being able to find it. No, here it is. Yeah, here it is. At the end of somebody's comment, it says, here it is. The end was hell. It's now been 2.5 years since the relationship ended. I'm still so pissed to this day. I want him to feel the same pain I feel of being used and manipulated. But he is oblivious. He still tries to manipulate me in being friends, using my empathy against me. He's not really using your empathy. He's using your codependence. He's using your need to project onto him your desire to fix yourself. That's all it is. When the empathy that we have for the borderline, especially after they've harmed us, maybe before the first discard, you can get away with saying, I actually care about people. Once you've been damaged and hurt, in a way that's inexcusable, you really can't say, I have empathy for that person. You're now in crazy land. And in crazy land, what's going on is you are projecting onto the borderline your own pain, and you're wanting to heal your own pain, but you transfer or counter project, or whatever word it is. You see yourself in them, and you want to heal yourself. What you're trying to do is you're trying to show somebody how to help me. We do it all the time. Like when we're, the way we make love to somebody, we're showing somebody how we want them to touch us. The way you touch people, the way we talk to people. We're trying to teach people how to deal with us. The borderline is teaching you how to deal with them. On an unconscious level, they're saying, I want you to treat me this way because this is how I've been treated. And at the same time, they are saying, I'm going to take it out on you what I can't take out on somebody else. That's what you're saying here. You want him to feel the same pain I feel of being used and manipulated. And now you know exactly what your ex walks around with. You're absolutely right. He's oblivious. Oblivious means unconscious. Unconscious means if you could get past the conscious self-protective denial, if you could get past that, and this person were conscious, which is what therapy is all about, by the way. Therapy is all about being conscious of the unconscious. If you could get that person to be able to feel that, they would say, I want to hurt mom, dad, whoever it was. But more than likely, they may not even be aware that they feel that. My borderline ex, I believe very strongly, I don't know this for a fact, but based on my experience, because I met her mother, and based on the way she talked about her mother, it was something not right about the way she talked about her overly, her love for her mother was like she was so, quote, protective of her mother. And, the thought of anything bad happening to her mother, she couldn't even tolerate the thought. It's major codependence. So it means that she was clearly in denial of the abuse her mother must have done to her. I met her mother. I saw the way her and her mother interacted, and I could go into all that. It's not a big deal. And long story short, I came to the conclusion that her mother was borderline. And so, of course, she's borderline because her mother was borderline. And she's totally clueless. She blames her father. I don't know what her father did or didn't do. But I believe that she is in denial, not conscious of the fact that her mother is the one that neglected and did the damage, because her mother was borderline, I believe. So what's really going on when she started getting angry with me was that she was unconsciously wanting to punish her mother, and I was the one, because I represented to her the parent. Now she later would say that I reminded her of her father, out of nowhere. She'd go from, you're the best, I love you, you're so good to me, to, yeah, and I haven't said it to you, but you remind me of my father, which was what she said about every single ex-boyfriend. That at some point her ex-boyfriends would remind her of her father, which again, the borderline cannot see you as an equal. They see you as a parent. This is all unconscious. Do you understand that? You must get clear with the concept of the conscious and the unconscious. Read Freud or Jung or whomever you want, because that's where all of this is going on. On the unconscious level, what is happening is that the borderline sees, there's mom and or dad. First, I love you. I can't help but love you because I still never got past the being able to have mom and dad feel my love, right? Because they want that. This is a survival technique. If baby can make mom or dad feel loved, mom and dad will love them back. So they never got that. They never even had somebody turn around and accept their love. So that's why they're attracted to you. There's something about you that feels unattainable. And at the same time, they see themselves in you. So they're going to replay on you all of the things that happened with themselves. They're not at all, like you said, they're completely oblivious. They're not at all conscious of any of this. This is why unconsciousness is so dangerous. Again, what's going to happen is they're going to go through the pain. They're going to have the pain. They're going to make you feel. They're going to punish you the way they want to punish their parents. They're going to do exactly what this person says here. I want him to feel the same pain I feel of being used and manipulated. Now, what's happening is that's a counter or whatever. I don't know the psychological term, but now you as the codependent, what you've been stimulated to feel is how you feel towards your parent. So if I were to own it to myself and try to apply it to myself, the feeling that I had towards my borderline ex after I was discarded, when I wanted her to feel how horrible the pain was actually me reliving the pain that I had never addressed towards my mother and my father, especially my mother. My mother, when I was like between ages 4 and 5, my mother split on me. My mother went from loving me. In fact, I have photos. I don't have any, but my mom had photos on the wall of me being a 4-year-old and feeding her. She used to eat these, she used to eat saltine crackers with peanut butter and anchovies. But there's a picture of me feeding her, and how sweet and cute and how loving. And I remember that she was my best friend. We were so close when I was a little kid. And the way she describes me was that I was so sweet and loving until I turned 5, and then I became a bad. And what happened was I started making friends, and I started individuating and having my own personality. And to her, I was abandoning her. And so she would publicly, beat me, like spank me and beat me for no reason. Just pull me out from being with my friends and laughing and pull my pants down and spank me in front of them. Just very much. So it was the same feeling that my borderline ex did the same thing. She got all the information and intuited all the information about what was most vulnerable and what I needed most, and then flipped it on its head, and on Christmas Day, betrayed me in the worst possible way. And all those old feelings came up that I had towards my mother. So all of those feelings that I had towards my borderline ex, I want her to feel the pain that she caused me, and I want karma to come down. Those were the feelings that I had at age 4 and 5 that I never allowed myself to feel because I was too young. You have to survive. I was living with these big, scary people and 2 older siblings. One was, 5 years older than me. One was 8 years older than me. And I had to survive that. And so I never allowed myself to feel it. So the one healing thing that you learn by going to therapy and working the 12 steps is you get to see what the original wound is. So for this person here, I haven't read their whole thing, I want him to feel the same pain, speaking of the borderline ex, I want him to feel the same pain I feel of being used and manipulated. But he is oblivious. There's somebody in your life, there's a mom or a dad or somebody in your life who made you feel that way when you were little and you never had the opportunity to fully feel it. So my suggestion to you is to go back and work through that. As you say, it's been 2.5 years since the relationship ended. Mine, it's only been, since the actual, complete, total, utter last communication, it's only been 7 months. and I'm healed. So what does that tell you? It means a bunch of different things, but one of them is I knew exactly what to do right afterwards. And if you don't have the tools, these feelings won't go away. I mean, it just again, you guys, I have to kind of apologize. I have no tolerance for anybody who co-signs their own dysfunction. And so when people want to, and again, people who are pure codependents, they argue in all kinds of weird, passive ways. Somebody said recently, me saying to them, if you want to get better, here you're going to have to do these things, in my opinion. If you don't agree with me, please watch another channel. I'm going to give you my outspoken opinion. I'm not going to say, whatever works for you. I'm not going to do that. The same way I wouldn't if somebody was sitting in front of me with an infected wound and pus was bubbling out of the wound. I wouldn't say, and they were saying, you know what, I don't need to go to a doctor. I don't need to get the bullet removed. I don't need to go get antibiotics. I wouldn't say to them, hey, you know what? You know what's best, whatever works for you. I wouldn't say that. I would say, you're in denial. You need help. You need to go to the emergency room right now or you're going to die. So when I see you denying your pain and your issues, I'm going to tell you in the most forceful way because this is a video channel and I have X amount of time to tell you. So I'm going to tell you in the most aggressive, direct, outspoken way there is. If you don't like it, watch another channel. But the interaction that I have with people, and I'm willing to keep doing it for as long as it takes and as long as you can tolerate it. But when people say things like, well, I just, time, somebody said time heals all. And I responded and I said, when you say time heals all, what you really want to say is, I don't want to look at this and I don't want to deal with it. I want to just push it down and hope that it gets better. The person went on to say, and I think we can be our own therapist. And of course, they're saying it in the most, non-confrontational, we're just having a discussion. When what's really going on underneath the surface is the person is arguing with me and saying, I refuse to do it the way you say it. I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to get help. I can be my own therapist. I don't need to listen to you or anybody else. That's what they're really saying. And so I responded and I said, it doesn't. You can't be your own therapist because for the same reason that a brain surgeon cannot do brain surgery on themselves. If you let it go, the wound and the infection of being in a relationship with an untreated borderline, if you are a codependent, is that you become infected by their dysfunction and their pain. You don't have to like it, it's the fact. Now, if you're not a codependent, it's like you're immune. But if you're a codependent, you're not immune. It means you have your own unresolved childhood pain, just like I had with my mother. And that's why the pain of the rejection was so intense for me that I wanted karma to come down and have her feel the pain, and I wanted to see it, and I wanted to gloat. It's because I had unresolved stuff and so the way to heal is to go, okay, what is this really about? It's about my mom. It's about my mom when I was 4 years old, who I loved more than anything else in the world. My favorite person was my mom. I loved her. We were, the best of friends. We were so close. We would feed each other. We were almost like lovers. Feed each other food and be best friends. And then because I started to have my own life and my own mind, and I started to have my own friends at 4 and 5, she took it personally and started beating me, for no reason. I even told my borderline ex that story, by the way. So she had all of the tools, and her illness waited for the opportunity to, hurt me in the worst way possible, because that was her unconscious way of trying to get back at, I believe, her mother. I think that her, obviously there's got to be something not right with her dad, because her dad ended up with probably a borderline. So he's probably codependent in his own right. So I must have reminded her of him being a codependent, but I think also that's a triangulation. Her, seeing her dad in me and hating that was really a triangulation where she was siding unconsciously with her mother against her father. So the bottom line is, this is what you get with an untreated borderline. This is what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up being the target. So you guys are right when you feel like they're targeting you. The difference is that you think they're doing it consciously. And even when they think they're doing it consciously, they're not. This is why I really make it clear that it's really important to understand they have a mental illness. A mental illness means, here's another word to look at it. Mental illness could mean we're talking chronically unconscious, completely, totally unaware of what's really going on under the surface, and deep dysfunction under the surface. Shame, deep, 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 deep shame. The saddest thing that for me as I went through this, because this helps me when I talk it through, is that I realized that I think, I could be wrong about this, but this helps me to have compassion for them and compassion for myself, because there's some truth to it for myself as well. But I think what's going on with the borderline, especially, severely, really high on the spectrum, is that little babies who are full of love, and want to love, of course, on a infant level, and they want to see their love hit its target, and it never does. Imagine that. How alone that must make you feel. To love more than you can possibly stand. I mean, the love that the infants have for their parents has got to be, unfathomable. And to have that love never hit. Little babies laugh and do all kinds of things. Like if you've seen like a mom and a baby, and the mom will mimic the baby in a loving way. Baby makes a noise, and mom will go, eh. It's a way of saying, I'm here, I reflect you. You matter to me. You exist. Imagine when a baby laughs, because a baby laughs to get you to laugh at them and to love them. And imagine that laugh. Imagine a baby laughing, trying to love, and the parent going, shut up. Imagine what that must have been like. And once that takes hold, at that age, it never goes away. That's why when you love them, their only response is going to be, fuck you. Get out of here. Go away. God, you're so stupid. Because that was the message. The message they got. Little baby laughing at mommy. Hey, mommy, I love you. Which normally, it's instinctual, gets mommy to laugh back. And I love you. But what if mommy is a borderline? An untreated borderline. Or a narcissist, an NPD. The laugh is going to make mom feel angry. And mom is going to say, shut up. Or mom is going to not have anything to do with you. In fact, my mom used to do that. I can remember even when I think I was in my 40s even. And I showed up to go visit my mom. And my mom might even said something about, because I think I was learning and it was playing flute and was performing and making recordings of, flutes that I was doing. And I brought one of my flutes, and she sat down next to me and took my flute and pushed it aside. And then threw down her thing that she wanted me to look at. I remember going, wow. So that was, again, I think my mom had borderline tendencies. All right, so I'm babbling on and on. Do you get it? If the borderline has targeted you and you think that, oh my God, this woman loves me. Nope. First and foremost, it's an opportunity to try and relive, trying to giggle at mommy and daddy and make them love you. But it's going to develop into, you're my parent, and I am going to make you feel how horrible I feel. Just as this person says here about their borderline ex, I am still so pissed to this day, 2.5 years later. I want him to feel the same pain I feel of being used and manipulated, but he is oblivious. That's what they're going to project onto you. And they say those kinds of things, don't they? They're going to say things, hurtful things to you. You're going to get angry, or you're going to react, or you're going to, react in some way. And then they're going to say to you, that you're oblivious. You don't care. Why are you so angry? You're the one that started it. You argued with me, right? They're setting you up unconsciously. But again, guys, you have to see that it's not a conscious manipulation, it's an unconscious thing. The end result is the same as if they did consciously seek you out to harm you, but it's all happening unconsciously. Anyway, three-pronged approach. If you want to heal, 2.5 years later, you're still pissed off and you still want to hurt him, there's something that isn't, whatever you're doing, there's something missing. Three-pronged approach. You must get therapy with a qualified therapist who knows how to deal with codependence of cluster B. Number 2, you need to go to coda.org, coda.org, work the 12 steps. Forget about the craziness, find a sponsor and work the 12 steps. 3, have a daily spiritual practice. Then you'll be able to make it about you, as I was able to do even in this. I was able to go, wow, that was about me. My need to want to punish her was about me want to punish my mom for, there is no justification for what my mother did to me. There's no justification for it. There's a reason. I knew my grandmother, so I know why my mom was the way she was. While that explains it, it doesn't justify it. All right, that's it. Interesting also, this person, before I shut up, he still tries to manipulate me in being friends and my empathy and using my empathy against me. I wish he would just hate me. Isn't that interesting? That is a Freudian slip right there. That's your unconscious desire to be abused. You hear it? Do you see it? This is a dance. You empaths are not victims. It is a dance. You are seeking out somebody who will abuse you so that you can relive your childhood garbage. And that's called codependence, like it or not. There's no such thing as an empath who's not an empath, borderline mate, partner who's not a codependent. Doesn't exist. You will never convince me of that. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I'm starting to babble. Talk to you guys later.